Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. My name is Jake Sawyer. I'm the product manager for Trailblazer and Big Blue products here at Miller Electric. And we're excited to talk with you tonight with a group of field fabricators. We want to talk about their business, how do they go about managing their jobs, their lifestyles, some of the fun things they've done, some of the things that maybe aren't so fun. So, like I said, we're excited to have you with us tonight, and we're going to let them introduce themselves, and then we'll go ahead and ask some questions. If you have questions yourselves, feel free to write them in the chat, and we'll bring them up with the group here. Guys?
I'm David DeMoise. I'm based in Dallas, Texas, and I own DeMoise Welding and Fabrication.
My name is Nick Bezates. I'm the owners of Bezates Construction out of Beaver Creek, Oregon.
I'm Drew Petty. I own Petty's Welding Company out of Knoxville, Tennessee.
I'm Steve Funk. I own Funk's Welding out of Buena Vista, Virginia.
I'm Mike McAllister out of Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, and I'm Mike Ride Your Bike on Instagram, and that's it.
Well, awesome. Thanks again, guys, for being here. I guess to start it off, we'll kind of start with a fun one, right? So we wanted to start it off and say, what's one of the funnest projects you've ever been on? We'll start off with something like that.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite projects that I've gotten to do. I do a lot of hot taps, so I had the opportunity to go down inside of a dam and do a hot tap on two 16-foot diameter valves, about 300 feet under the water level. So they were running around 175 psi.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I think my favorite project was last year. Greg and I got to build a tree for the Herpetarium at the zoo, and it was about 18 feet tall, and the branch spread was about 45 feet wide, and then they concrete shot it and painted it up, airbrushed it, and it looks like a real tree. And then a sloth kind of climbs through it every day, and they put out food and everything. So the sloth actually lives in this exoskeleton we built before it got shot. It's pretty neat. Yeah.
One of our coolest projects is being able to work in the mines and in the quarries. When the quarries call, you never know what you're going to end up with.
Yeah.
You really never know what you're going to have till you get there. A lot of 1-inch, inch-and-a-half plate ripped in half, and just fun.
I guess my favorite projects are saving obsolete parts or making things that our parts aren't available for work again. I don't have anything specific, but I definitely like saving unsavable parts.
Sure.
I think one of my favorite ones is last year, shortly after going into business for myself full time, I got the opportunity to basically take a brand new SkyTrack forklift and cut the front end off of it and rebuild it entirely to suit the customer's needs better. That was a pretty fun one.
Yeah. So you guys do a lot of fun stuff, but maybe what's something you'll drop everything and do? What's the job that you never want to pass up? You guys have those regulars that you kind of make time, you do it every time they call you type deals too?
My favorite thing to do when I get a call for it, I like working on excavator buckets. Just for some reason, they're fun.
Yeah, mine's definitely the hot taps. I like they take me to some really interesting, cool places to be able to work. So definitely when those come up, those are top of the list.
Yeah. Sure. And Nick, when you do those hot taps, like, do you have what kind of do you have extra certs for those? Is that a specialty? Something you got to get extra training for?
Some of it falls under certs and procedures, and then some of it's just experience based. Also,
Sure.
I've been doing them for quite a while, so that's where I end up getting into
kind of building that relationship then.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
I think for me, anything that's challenging and profitable. If it's challenging and profitable, I don't pass it up, and we'll respond. So I'm the kind of guy that just I can't do the same thing every day. I just absolutely can't. So if it's gonna pose a lot of challenges and we have to use a lot of problem solving to get through something to please a customer and we can make money doing it, that's kind of what we're after. So
sure.
Pretty much everything that Drew said, it's got to be profitable, before you can just take it as soon as they call.
Yeah.
But for us, it's tank work, working on water tanks and towers. That's another thing. You never know what you're going to see till you crack that tank open. So when they call, we go.
Yeah. Sure.
If I had to make a profit or show a profit, I guess it'd be buckets. I definitely enjoy working on buckets. But I would definitely, I have a hard time turning down anything race car parts or race motorcycle. Return. I will lose a little bit of money sometimes to build something cool for a race machine.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you've got your regulars, your jobs that you really enjoy. You want to do them all the time. You know, you've kind of established your relationships with your business. You know, if looking back where you are now, we've got some folks who are earlier in their careers. Some of you guys are more established. You know, whether it's a year or 10 years or since you've started your business, what's something you might go back and tell yourself, you know, now knowing what you know when you were just starting?
Running a business and being a good quality welder and fabricator are two totally different things. And the business side takes as much study and research as everything you've put into learning to be a good welder. And so I would go back and tell myself, one, you have to change the way you think about money. You have to learn from people who have been in the game a long time. So find a mentor. Like I think the people I struggled for years because I didn't find a mentor. And I think that's one of the most critical things that I would tell myself 11 years ago was go find somebody that knows what they're doing and
Sure.
talk to them.
Absolutely.
How do you find someone like that?
Well, you've got these. We have a nonprofit business kind of incubator in town. You can go to them literally and just ask to be mentored. And general business knowledge is general business knowledge, but you also kind of have to take it from there and then narrow it down to the trades because how a trades business runs and a wholesaler. We're talking about two different things, right? We're
Sure.
service-based industry, so I think it's just really important that you got to go knocking around, ask questions, get to know people. Go to another welding business owner. I hand out tips to guys in my city all the time. Like we're not in competition with each other. There's plenty of work, so it's like just talk to somebody in your town and see if you can get them to help you. Volunteer to help them in their shop in exchange for being mentored. You know, I mean, just if you don't knock on doors, nothing happens. So
You gave me a lot of tips when I started out. It's much appreciated.
yeah,
Yeah, don't underprice yourself too.
Yeah.
For sure. Like know your worth and know what the job's going to cost you. Don't undercut it just to try and buy into jobs just to keep yourself busy. You know that because that's not a sustainable business model. Over the years, that's going to catch up with you. So
Yeah.
you got to know where your costs are, what you're doing, and you know take some calculated risks.
Yeah.
You know,
But
keep
that
your,
comes with experience too. You
that
know,
absolutely
That's
does.
right.
Once
That's
you're
right.
in it for a few years, you realize like, well, I can do this job for this,
Yeah.
and then you know I
Yeah.
have to get over and above that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can start inching a little further out on that branch,
Yep.
taking a little more risk, you know,
that's right.
as you understand more of your capabilities, your machinery's capabilities, and then you can just start to expand from there.
That's right,
Machinery
yeah.
has a lot to do with it.
Huge
Yeah,
When
amount.
you're
that's
first
right.
starting out, you don't have much, you know, unless you took out huge loans to get brand new stuff and things like that. But
Right.
you got to be able to make as much money as you can with the equipment that you have on hand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did any of you guys have those jobs that stick out in your memory where you were like, oh, I quoted this too low?
Oh
Or-
boy,
Yeah.
Once a week.
how
Or
much
biting
time do we
off-
have?
Biting off more than you can chew.
You usually
Yeah.
find that
sure.
out while you're doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
My least favorite job is when I had a quote that's not time and materials.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
It's
sometimes
tricky.
that can bite you, but that also comes with the experience and knowing where you're at, how long things take, and all that.
Always an educated guess. It's not necessarily an easy one.
Absolutely, and everybody does it different.
Well,
so,
and early on, they'll eat you alive because then you start rushing and you're panicking. Oh my gosh, I'm losing money. I'm losing money. I'm losing money.
Right.
But later, you hope you get to a point where you're winning at these jobs enough that when a loss comes along, we're still going to do quality work all the way through, and we're not going to rush it.
right.
And so that's the level I think you're looking to get to is when that stuff doesn't panic you anymore. You just say, all right, we got kicked in the teeth this week. We'll knock it in the head next week. You know,
Yep.
just
Sure.
keep moving forward. It's about plowing, really. I mean, it's a grind. That's what it is.
Right.
It's
And
for grinding personalities.
And you have to keep moving.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. You got to be able to take a kick in the teeth and just
Yeah.
wear a smile on your face, take it, and
Yeah.
you'll
And
make
you,
it up on the
and
next
you
one.
still got to do a good job
you
too,
still have to
because
do a good
that's your
job.
reputation.
That's
As a
it.
small business,
Yep.
your reputation's hanging on that,
That's
whether
it.
you're making money or not.
You can't show your frustration to the customer that you
Absolutely.
quoted something wrong, and now you're just trying to rush to patch something
That's
up. Like,
right.
you
Yeah.
still have to be the professional. You know?
And that goes right along with. There's no amount of advertising for a small guy better than word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
and
it.
that
Absolutely.
takes time.
Yeah.
Word
And
of
you're-
mouth takes a long time to get around. Good stuff takes forever.
Yeah.
Bad stuff takes seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
If you're doing
That's
quality
right.
work, it'll get out there
That's
fast.
it. It would, yeah.
But word of mouth is the best way to go. You know, as far as somebody knows this guy. Well, man, this guy does fantastic work.
Yeah.
And you grow your business from there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think a big point to make to that too is that we're not price takers. Like you want people to be saying no, and the only way to grow is to know your worth, have a 20,000-foot elevation of where the market is, know where you fit inside of it, and stand your ground on what you're worth and what your guys are worth, what your shop's worth,
Yeah.
what your time every day, every week, every month.
'Cause
And
people haggle with you every
Yeah.
day.
yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you want people to leave. You want to fire clients. You want to move, keep looking for better and better jobs. I mean, it's the only way you can grow. So I mean, it's
Once
real-
you get clients,
that's it.
like,
Once you get
yeah, I mean, there's it's that
there's
balance,
a phasing,
right?
There's a
Yeah,
phasing, yeah.
it's that
Yeah.
balance for
You
sure.
early on, you look to get your schedule packed jam
Yeah.
full, and then you get it packed full, and then what's it packed full of? Like, what's the substance?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And, you
And
know, I
that's when
always
everything
wondered
changes.
about the years that it took you. When I talk to old heads, you know, you'll be in it a couple years before you really get busy and stay that way.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it took about 3 years, and then we got busy and just stayed that way all the time. Now we're so swamped,
Yeah.
we're having to get rid of customers because we just don't have time to do it.
Is there any work that over time you guys started to stay away from? Maybe you kind of realized, hey, this isn't a core competency for what I like to
One,
do.
2,
Yeah.
handrails.
Handrail.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
try and
handrail.
try and
Horse
say no to
handrail.
that as
Horse
often as you
handrails.
can. I mean, there's definitely opportunities that present themselves that you take on just because there is that profit margin there in it, and it's worth your time to go after it. But for all intents and purposes, and what we do in the field, that kind of stuff really ties you up.
Yeah. Any phone call that starts with "How much would it cost to?"
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not your guy. No, and I don't mean that. I don't mean that in any pretentious way. It's just people who are price shopping and calling every shop in town.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the guy that wins that job.
Right. They're just gonna
It just
nickel
is
and
what
dime
it
you
is.
to death.
That's it. They'll waste. You'll spend 20 emails over a $400 job, and you'll land a $40,000 job with one email. Like,
Yeah.
how much time you want to spend communicating about all this stuff? So-
Well, and, to mount on top of that is we do some work for the state government, and those guys will bid a job for the state, and then they'll have endless meetings and endless meetings and endless
Yeah.
Zoom meetings. You have to drive 100 miles to go to this meeting 5 times before the job starts.
yeah,
Just know that and
Yeah.
bid that
Yep.
into your
Yeah.
price.
That's right.
'Cause if not,
they have to pay for
Trying
it.
to figure
Yeah.
out how
Yeah.
to bid that in is very difficult.
It is.
Yeah.
That's something
super
I
tough.
definitely missed.
well,
was
and that comes
bidding
with
that time.
experience. You
Yeah.
know, you bid enough of them and you do enough state work, Fed work, local government work, they're all that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything with the government, you've got to add 15% for
Any
Endless
administration
meetings,
stuff.
same thing.
Paperwork, yeah,
You have
anything
to.
of that outside time.
Yep.
Because you're burning up fuel, you're burning up your time.
Yeah, you want to. I think the challenge is to try to get paid for every hour you work. Like
Mhm.
when you start a business,
And it's
when
hard
you
to
start a
do.
business, you end
Yeah.
up throwing time away everywhere. And the
Yeah.
challenge is getting to a point where you're getting paid. You're getting paid to send in the invoices. I get paid to cash the check at my desk. Like you want to get to that point where you never feel like I'm just giving myself away. Like
Yeah.
you give yourself away long enough, and you're not going to have a business. I mean,
That's right.
it just is what it is.
It's tough.
So we've got another question here. Someone typed in the chat. Don said, "I love pulse mode over regular MIG." Do any of you guys love pulse MIG, or what kind of process are you guys using? I'm sure there's probably a gamut depending on the application, but what are some of your favorites, and maybe where do you use them?
I run some pulse MIG, especially in the shop. I have a XMT MPA, and the pulse is really nice on aluminum wire with a push-pull gun. In the field, I've had the ability to run it, but tend to run more dual shield in the field, and you're not seeing the pulse as often.
Sure.
Just to
Yeah.
get that out of position, the dual shield's so simple and it's user-friendly.
I think I know the answer to this question. Well, what is you guys' favorite stuff to run in the field?
7018. Yeah.
Wire
That or
feeder.
XLRA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wire feeder.
Accelerate.
Yep.
Yeah.
We picked up a 255 last year, and the guys are really good at pulsing, and everything that comes out of the shop now pretty much gets pulse MIG'd, and it ups the aesthetics of everything we make.
I don't have much to add to that.
Yeah. Here comes one.
So
from
any of
Isaac.
you guys have like a favorite, when you're welding a job that Nick, it sounds like you like these hot tap type situations. Any preference when it comes to what kind of welding jobs you guys are taking, or is it pretty much just always, kind of the application that comes in? Is it a specific, we love running 7018 in this application, we love running Accelerate in this application, or is it just kind of however it falls with the jobs coming in?
I think that's one of the biggest field things is the ability to be able to shift up all your
Mhm.
processes
Mhm.
depending on the job. So
And
I mean,
depending on the job,
it
and weather
really varies.
conditions.
Weather
Yeah,
conditions,
weather conditions
yeah.
is a big
You
one.
know,
What you crack into when you find stuff. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
there's certain times certain things just aren't going to work.
That's it. That's
You know,
it.
because you crawl under a dozer and excavator for a crack in a roller frame. You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna have grease shooting out at you and dirt packed up in there, and you know,
It
it's
can
gonna be a fight.
can get interesting. The real fun ones are when you run 30 pounds of dual shield, and then all of a sudden the wind decides to show up.
Yeah.
You end up doing the last 5-10 pounds worth of 70-18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes just as long as the first 30 pounds
Yeah.
did.
Right.
So we've got another question from IC Weld on Instagram. You guys are all good friends with him, I believe. Have you guys seen any impacts because of the pandemic? And if so, how did you handle it?
Traffic was way better,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Traffic's
Like,
better.
I didn't
Uh,
have much slow time. I mean, it pretty well stayed busy through the entire thing.
Yeah.
I was down for maybe a day and a half, just kind of trying to figure it all out. And then contractors were calling, "Hey man, we're not going to go bankrupt over this. We're going to go back to work."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Our city seems to live in its own strange little bubble, and just I don't know why we got insulated from some of that, but things just boomed the entire time. 2020 was the best year we'd ever had. We only got busier, and nothing slowed down, and it was really strange. But then, of course, on the flip side now with steel spikes, I think that's probably what we're all dealing with the most is
Material.
you know, we've got a job we bid a year ago for TVA, and then they come back and say, hey, we're ready to get started, and you have to email them back and say materials are up $30,000, and when you have to ask a customer to go find $30,000 to do a project, like
Yep.
you're going to get some no's from that.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
because I mean, I'm definitely not going to eat that.
No,
You know,
yeah, that's it.
Can't.
That's it.
I can sit at the shop and make nothing on a project.
Yep.
But yeah, steel prices, the massive fluctuation in steel price. I mean, there's some suppliers out there that won't hold a quote 4 hours. You know, you call them and you better have a yes in 4 hours or it's going up.
Hmm.
Like he said, we bid a couple of jobs over a year ago. I actually bid it at FabTech 2019, and we're getting ready to start it this month. Had to raise it on them a couple times. They kept getting us to rebid it. The contractor actually paid me for the material in January, and it's been sitting in my shop ever since.
He got a pretty good deal then.
He did it. He did it. That was a good idea.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it worked out good for
Yeah,
him.
That was a good idea.
They skated through it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, material availability.
Yeah.
You know, I ordered some stainless tube for some handrail a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it was more like 5 weeks ago, and it just got here before we came to FabTech.
Yeah. I think we got lucky on plate too, because we just had a nice little inventory in the plate rack, so everything spiked, and then, but then everything you're sitting on now is also worth more money. So it was like buying stocks low and selling it high. So everything we sold, you know, CNC cut off the table out of plate this year, we made better money on because we were holding on to that steel before the pandemic started. So I mean, that's not a big volume, but it's just like
It's a little bit better.
it's a little bit better margin.
It helps.
Yeah,
And you got to turn around and replace it.
yeah, without a doubt. But the customer's always paying for it, you know. So, but yeah,
So it sounds like the work's been steady. It's more the materials and
Yep.
stuff that have been
supply
giving
chain.
you guys. Have those been conversations with your customers? Are they typically on board, or do they vary all over the place?
By now, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the contractors, we do a lot of construction work, hanging steel, I-beams, and things. Those contractors, they deal with it every day. They know it.
Yeah.
It's the smaller mom and pop. Go try to help out. Well, what do you mean you can't get that tubing for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
You know, haven't you noticed we're in a pandemic, so we can't get stuff.
Yeah.
But everybody else typically knows by now that it's hard to get material.
Do we have any other questions coming in? Looks like we have another one from LL Welding Lance. Reels on the service truck, are they worth the cost? What are you guys' thoughts?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
I love
Yeah.
my
I like them.
Yep.
It's something I wish I would have done 10 years ago when I started
Yeah.
asking that question.
That would have been a great.
And
Yeah.
I mean, the roll up at the end of the day, I mean, it's they make a lot of difference. They
How
really
many
do.
how many foot of cable you guys typically keep on the truck? Does it vary? You got a standard set you keep, and then you throw them in the truck if you need extra. How's that work?
Minimum 150 for
Yeah,
me.
a couple hundred will always get us where we need to go most
Yeah.
of the time.
I
keep,
carry
like-
150 on each spool, and then if we need some more, go up on a tank or something, we'll throw it on a truck.
Yeah.
I've got
Up
one.
to 600 feet at a time.
I think the real question touches on a bigger philosophy of like there's nothing good about it's hard, this trade's hard on your body. It breaks you down, it tears you up. Ask any of us how we feel at 40 years old, you know. And the reels are just one of those things. It makes everything about your job easier. Setup time, speeds, but just so I think of course you have to be to a point where you have liquid cash to invest in things that makes your job easier. But when you do, I think it's one of those things that is well worth the money. Well worth the money.
All
Yeah.
about the tools that make
All
my
ab-
job
That's
easier.
it.
Yeah.
If they make it easier, buy it.
Also, on a truck, you're looking at real estate. So
Mm-hmm.
there is no way to store those leads as compact as you will on a reel.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about real estate savings.
That's true. Yeah. That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
It's all about real estate.
And it's
on a
organized.
truck.
It's clean. It doesn't get nicked, run
Yep.
over, stuff
Yeah.
piled up on a toolbox.
That's
you know,
right.
it's
and it looks good.
it does. It's
Yeah,
very. That's right. It's
that's
very
half the
clean and
battle.
professional. Yeah,
They roll
it
up
is.
I love
nice
the
and neat,
quick up,
too.
or
Yeah.
the quick cleanup. I mean, I save probably 10 minutes aside easily
Yeah.
instead of pulling. My shoulders feel great.
Yeah.
You know, I'd way rather spin a reel and eat some cheeseburger, or eat hot dogs instead of steak for a few months instead.
Yeah.
You know,
You set up 3 times in one day. If you know, sometimes we've got 3 jobs we're trying to nail out in a day, and like you set up and tear down a weld rig on a job site 3 times in a day. I don't care how big, I don't care how tough you are. You're tired, you know. Like I want to go
bigger
home
the
with
truck,
energy
the
to
more
play with my
stuff you're
kids.
tearing
you know?
down,
It's
Like
too.
unpack and
Yep.
repack the
Yep.
entire truck
That's
pretty
it.
much
I
on
keep-
every job.
That's
it
right.
seems
I
Yep.
keep my
like.
truck
it.
farther away from the work site. I keep farther away from the sparks and stuff too, because I'll strip off. You know, if I was pulling cable by myself, I might only be 20 foot, or as minimal as I can pull off the truck.
Yeah.
But with my reels, I'll just strip as much as I can and keep it. I stay out of the mud with it because I'm a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You know, and
Absolutely.
I really enjoy them. I held off a long time before I bought them, and I wish I would have, sooner.
Are there any other tools like that you guys, again, it sounds like a lot of you guys might have got them later and you're like, holy crap,
Mm.
should have bought these a long time ago. You guys have any other tools that maybe you would have been hesitant to buy as a younger, you starting out in your business and you're like, now you're ever get by without this?
Mm.
Crane.
Crane.
Absolutely.
Crane on your truck.
Yeah.
And having air.
Yeah.
on
Having
your
air
truck.
is
Air
huge
is
on
Having
the
air
road.
is huge.
Air's
Air
unbelievable.
pack makes so much difference.
It
Yeah.
does.
I mean,
That
I
air
just-
pack has upped our production as far as gouging a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
We used to have to wait for a reciprocate type compressor to recharge,
That's it.
rebuild back up.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
we don't have to wait. We just get in there.
all
and
the
knock
air,
it out.
all the air you need.
Gouging.
Needle scaler if you're
Yeah.
doing
Needle scaler.
full pin welds, being able
Yeah.
to scale out.
Yep.
If you're
groove
doing
and-
mobile work and haven't bought an arc gouger yet either, you need to.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
huge productivity
Yeah,
increase.
it's
Absolutely.
cheap too. It's like you got $200 and $6 for a box of carbons. Like
Right.
Yeah.
you can make a lot, a
Right.
lot of change with that kind of setup.
Yeah,
Right.
you can make a lot happen with a
Saves
box
a
of gouging
lot of
rods.
grinding.
But I think that a lot of guys starting out are really scared to make those big expenses, right? I mean, because like the way you think about money when you first start and the way you think about money 10 years in is 2 different places. But that you have to have the right equipment to get started, and you have to have the stuff that's going to be efficient. You can't be the guy that takes 15 hours to do a 10-hour job. So like you have to buy the stuff that makes you better. You
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, and honestly, as a marketing thing, it's impressive to a customer when you show up. You have everything you need.
Yeah.
You're super efficient.
Yep.
You're packed up and you're gone.
That's right. They want you gone as fast as you can get.
Yeah,
Gone. Like all your
absolutely they
customers want
do.
you gone.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely
you know, I
they
mean,
do.
Truck organizations is something that I
Huge.
really dove into. Drawers, the lead
Mhm.
reels,
Yeah.
and not just the lead reels. I mean, gosh, I've got a reel for just about everything.
Rack.
Air,
Yeah.
oxygen acetylene, argon.
Argon line.
All
Yeah.
of them.
I just got so sick of tossing the
hmm
extension cord out, and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna call Randy. I'm getting
Yeah.
some aluminum reels.
Yeah.
They,
Exactly.
The remote. I mean, the remote's a lifesaver now.
Remotes.
That's a big deal.
Not
Such a
walking
huge
back and
life.
forth to the truck, saving
Yep.
time.
There again, steps in time, carrying and heavy stuff. Yep, just make it easier.
It took me a
Suitcase
while
wire
to get
feeder, too.
a wire
yeah.
feeder capable of running big flux core.
Yeah.
I definitely stayed on stick
A
welding
wire feeder is
a good
must.
bit,
Yeah.
and
Suitcase.
the wire feeder was a game changer for
Mhm.
me.
Yeah, as much as I talk about and love 70-18, we don't 70-18 everything. Like
No,
we know what
can't.
speed is,
Yeah.
and we truck on.
Yeah,
with
there's
it,
definitely
so
a time
yeah.
when you switch over.
there's a time to switch.
You look
over,
at the
that's
pile
right.
of welding that
That's
there
right.
is to do, and
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, this
Yeah.
calls for wire.
What is that line for you guys? So, obviously there's a big ease of just rolling out a stinger and throwing a 70-18 in it. But then, there's a little more setup with a 12 VS suitcase feeder running self shield.
it.
How do you guys decide? You know, is that a decision you just kind of naturally make? You know, you're so used to
Probably.
it, but or is there certain elements of the project where it's like, oh, we're going to use flux core for this, or we're gonna stick weld it.
I think the amount of welding dictates partially, and then also accessibility. You know,
Yeah.
you're on a
And
water
weather,
tower,
and weather
a
conditions.
roller coaster,
Yeah.
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
down in a ditch where you may not have the real estate or the want to set up a feeder.
Yeah.
You know, sticks, and then also process for whatever you're doing.
Well, the comfort too. So I mean, I really think it all boils back to arc on time. It's like if I'm going to take 10 minutes to set up my feeder and 10 minutes to tear it down, there's 20 minutes where I can already chuck up a stinger and get going. So are you going to have 20 more minutes of arc on time? You know, or can you offset that? And if you're anywhere close, I'm going to go with rod because the flexibility, moving, crawling it in around things,
Yep.
ditches, under machines, like bend that rod any direction you want. Like you get so much flexibility with it. So I mean, I think it's more than just arc on time, like you alluded to. But you know, weather conditions and comfort. It just if you give me flexibility and comfort in the field, you know, you got
Yeah.
to take it sometimes.
And there is
Well,
times
and
you're bending.
cutting edges on buckets. You know, if I know it's going to take me, if I know it's going to take me more than an hour of weld time, the
Yeah.
feeder's coming out.
Yeah, yeah,
like
that's a
there's
good-
just no ifs, ands, or buts. It's coming out.
Feeder keeps
Uh,
customers happy too.
Yeah.
For sure.
If they've been paying a guy to do that same job, stick welding it for years, and you
Yep.
show up with a
Yeah.
feeder,
That's right.
they're going to call you again.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they
That's
are.
right.
Because you just saved them. You know, it's about 3 times faster on average.
Yeah.
Because you get in, you get out, you get out of their way.
You
Yeah.
saved them a lot of money, and
Right.
hopefully that means they give you a lot more work to offset the fact that you didn't make maybe as much on that particular job.
And that's where I think we got to be careful about rates. You know, you get into that mechanics dilemma where you buy all these really expensive tools to make yourself faster, and then you're trying to charge by the hour. It's like,
Right.
Yeah.
well,
Right.
you know,
You shoot
pump the
yourself in
brakes
the
and start
foot.
raising your rates because you're going to shoot yourself in the foot if you race through every single job and then charge your customer the lowest hourly rate. Like, you got to invert that.
Right.
You know,
You
you have
got
to
to charge
invert
for
that.
your efficiency.
Yeah, you got to charge for your efficiency and experience. Yeah.
So it looks like we got another question from the chat from Isaac. I'm a young guy working at a small shop in Monmouth, Oregon. What are some tricks? I
Sorry.
said that wrong. What are some tricks for shutdowns and rock plants and asphalts? Have any of you guys ever worked in anything like that?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Take 2 of everything.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Everything.
everything. Like
Make
2
sure you have plenty of
welders,
supplies.
extra leads, extra. Make sure you have
Your
all
backup plan has a
consumables.
backup
Yeah.
plan. Yeah.
Backups
Yeah.
to the backups.
I
For
tear
sure.
up a lead every time I go to an asphalt plant. It's
Yeah.
going to happen. You go a lot of times. You're going to be up high on the silos or in the drag slat. You're going to tear up stuff. It's all aggregate. You know,
Yeah.
it's abrasive.
Sharp.
It's big steel. You're gonna tear up leads. You're gonna tear up wire feeders. You're gonna drop whole cans of welding rods.
Yeah. Oh
Been
yeah.
there.
You know,
Well, in a shutdown, I mean, there's big money riding on shutdowns too.
yeah.
So the extra stuff is really cheap insurance to not be that guy that's like, oh, I just had an engine drive go down. You're like, well, I got another one sitting on the trailer over there. Let's go grab that.
That's
you
it.
know, there's a big concrete plant that has a month-long shutdown in January every year in Virginia, and it never fails. It is 7 degrees outside, and the wind's taking your hat off, your hard hat off. You know, so you want to have extra, not just extra stuff to weld with, but extra coats,
Dry clothes,
jackets, dry clothes, dry
Oh,
socks,
yeah.
Always carry spare
Uh,
clothes in a truck.
dry
uh,
boots.
another pair of boots.
Yeah.
You know, a change of clothes.
Spare chargers and batteries.
Batteries,
And, yeah.
everything. You know,
Yeah.
you got to carry so much stuff into those places because their time is money. And if you've got a date that you've got to be done with that shutdown, it better be done.
Yeah.
Having
Somebody's
the,
not getting
Absolutely.
asked back.
having the tools and knowledge to fix and repair your equipment goes a long way too. Like
Yeah.
carrying extra quick connects in case one of them melts on you or something.
Mhm.
Just cut a little bit off the lead. Have a set of cable cutters, stuff like that. Maybe carry spare oil for your machine.
Mhm.
Spare set of brushes is never a bad idea to have on the truck. They're pretty easy to replace on most products. Stuff like that's handy.
Yeah. Backup welding hoods.
Yeah.
because
Spare
Yeah.
hood.
You want a fixed shade hood, just as you know, all of us probably use auto
Spare
gas most
batteries
time,
for
but
your
you-
hood.
Yeah, batteries for your hood, 3 or 4 grinders on the truck. I mean, you never want to have a single tool to do one function. You have 6 different ways to cut things. You
Yeah.
know? Like,
Exactly.
And that's the hard part. Talk about cutting things. Is, you know, I carry a torch and your grinder, of course, with the
cut off wheel,
cutoff wheel.
porta
But I've
band.
got a porta band.
Yeah.
I've got metal
Plasma.
cutting skill saw.
Yep.
Plasma.
The plasma. I carry,
Plasma,
now that
for
I've got the
sure.
air pack, I carry the plasma everywhere.
Yep. And then it's just figuring out which one's the right one for the
Yeah,
job. You know, which one's going to be the most
gonna be
efficient.
the,
Yeah.
the least time consuming to set up versus cutting this.
Yeah.
Or what's going to give me the best weld ready product to make me
yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
A lot of welding in the field isn't welding; it's getting it ready to be welded.
That's
Oh,
it. Yeah, that's it.
90%
That's it.
90% process.
Yeah.
Fit
It
up.
is.
Yeah.
When I got my
preparation.
Infinity hood, I tracked my weld time as the business owner for like 6 months, and then divided it all out by the hours worked, and I was averaging 3 or 4 minutes of arc on time a day.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yep.
3 or 4 minutes. Like, it's not about welding. The welding part.
We need to check Greg's hood.
Yeah, yeah. Greg would be a little different, but that was even back, when I was just still alone. But yeah, you're exactly right though, David. It's about the getting ready to weld, the setup, the cutting, the fab. Yeah.
All right, looks like we had another question come in, kind of going back to where we were in the beginning. Someone wants to know, who do you love to work with or learn from? So, like you guys talked about those mentors earlier in your career. Maybe give us some insight into like who are the guys you go to now, even as more experienced guys, or who do you guys still kind of use to continue to evolve and learn more, and advance your business?
I think as a community, we soundboard off of each other
Yep.
a lot.
Yep.
You know,
The
Gu-
guys
you
sitting
find
right
guys
here.
with
Yep.
with the experience.
I mean,
that
there's very few weeks that we don't
Converse.
speak to one
Yep.
another
Yeah.
on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're from different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Um,
And that
I guess I enjoy learning from someone who's willing to teach. There's nothing harder than trying to extract information out of a mentor or a coworker. It's a lot of fun when people help make information available and pass it on.
yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
the Instagram welding community is so big,
Mm.
and you get to know all these guys, and they're super, super nice guys. If you haven't seen it, somebody out there's dealt with it.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You know, you call that guy up, hey man, have you ever seen this? Oh yeah, just do this, this, and this. Done.
Yeah.
You know, the transfer of knowledge around the Instagram welder community
Yeah.
is
It's the first time
unparalleled.
it's the first time we have a professional network. Like, there's no like, hey, let's get together and talk about welding as a local club in Knoxville. It's like you don't get together with your
Right.
peers. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, there's all these other professional networks locally, but nobody does that for the trades. So like, Instagram has become this hole, this vacuum that we needed to bounce things off each other. So like, these guys and everybody we hang out with at FabTech every year is, that professional network. And so you really make like
That's how I met.
dear friendships and bounce all these things across each other. And I mean, Instagram has hands down made me a better welder and business owner, like
Oh, yeah.
without a shadow of a doubt.
Yep.
Without a
It's
shadow
lot
of a doubt.
friendly competition.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
you look
Yep.
and see what somebody else is out there doing. Like, man, I need to step my game up. Right?
Yeah, it keeps you on your
Seriously,
toes a
yeah,
little
it
bit.
does. It does. Keeps you on your
It really
toes.
keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it
That's
does.
how you meet
I
all
didn't
these
believe-
good guys like this.
I didn't believe you could cut straight with a cutting torch until Instagram. Instagram put my oxy-fuel cutting.
Oh,
I
man.
avoided it until I knew you could actually do it.
Isaac.
Big
Yeah,
shout
thank
out
you,
on
Isaac.
that one.
I mean, really.
Isaac, man, he
I-
is so good with the torch. He was
Hey,
a
Isaac.
great mentor to me
Yeah.
early on. He
Yeah, there's tons of mentors out
actually
there
let me
for
come
sure.
down and work with him for a couple days down in Austin, and that man taught me so much stuff. He's always willing to answer questions when I have them.
Yeah.
Finding guys like that is
Mhm.
it's hard sometimes, but when you do, it's
Yeah.
really nice to know them.
Well, and even machine purchases. I mean, right? Like, you got to make the right decision on a machine. And I was
Yeah.
on the fence about what machine to spend and how much money. And Nick and Mike, I think you said buy once, cry once. And he was like, get the air pack. And I was like, I knew I needed it. I was just trying to avoid spending the money, And it was between Isaac and Mike and Nick. They were like, get the air pack. And it's the best decision I ever made. Like, best decision I ever made. So
Isaac's so influential on me picking out a welder that I actually own one of his Trailblazers.
yeah. Yeah.
I thought I needed a bigger welder until I saw you guys, or Bezates and Isaac rocking the 302. I'm like, if the 302 is enough for them,
Yeah.
so I bought one and put it on the truck. I was looking at high amperage because I like the big machines.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
turns out I don't need a 2,000-pound welder.
Well, that's it. That just goes back to real estate and what your truck can handle.
Yeah.
Working
that
with
has
your
a lot to
equipment.
do with picking
Yeah.
out a welder.
And an honest
And getting
assessment of
things
what you
done.
do. Like, I
Right.
love the 800 Duo,
Oh, yeah.
but what am I gonna?
You
what
bet.
do I need? What can
Right.
we get the job done with? So it's
And
Yeah.
guys out there on Instagram, they can give you that. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, man, the welder's fantastic, but it takes up the whole bed of the truck.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like you
Or-
were saying, you got the only air pack in Virginia.
Yeah.
Like, who else are you going to talk to about buying an air pack
Yeah.
if you don't have a network of guys that have air pack. I mean, there's
Yeah.
nobody else in your state.
Yeah, I mean, you've
that
got
has
an air
one.
pack because we've all got an air like that. All, but
Oh,
we could tell you,
absolutely.
right?
But
We
how
could
long
tell
did
you
I
how
talk
great
to
it
you
is.
guys about, God, I don't want to spend that.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
But was it not a good investment, though?
It definitely
I mean,
was.
yeah.
You know,
yeah.
if I wished I'd have bought it 10 years ago.
I've said that every time I bought something. Yeah, should have. I bought it too late.
Absolutely.
Yeah, bought it too
Way
late.
too late.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's when you know you
Trailblazers
bought a
can
good
really
tool.
get you
Yeah,
out
that's
of
when
a
you know you
bind,
bought a good
too.
tool. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my tires have never been so inflated. I used to avoid checking tire pressure because I'd have to go find find it everything. And it's great to have the air compressor built into the machine. I bet you I use the air compressor as much as the welder. I think I'm kind of mechanical, so I run a lot of air a lot of times and a lot of air tools off of it. And it's unlimited running the air tools. I love having air on board.
Speaking of machines, we got a question from Skyline Fabricators for David specific. What do you think of Big Blue?
Thanks, Jeff. I love the Big Blues. I love the Trailblazers. They all kind of fit a different role. The Trailblazer's great because in a pinch, I've even loaded it in the bed of a Ford Ranger, and you can get into some really small spots. It's lightweight. It performs excellent for the price, but some days that Big Blue 700 just really gets you out of a bind when you can turn it up to 650 amps, run a half-inch carbon, and you can just do stuff nobody else in town can. I get a lot of calls to like re-ear big 60-plus ton excavator buckets because I can more or less just remove the old ones way faster by being able to gouge at a rate like that. They're an awesome machine. Sips diesel. It's quiet. Can run like half a neighborhood when Texas get hit by a freak snowstorm in February. So they're a great machine.
Looks like we got another came in from the chat. Fixed shade or auto darkening preference for you guys?
Definitely auto darkening.
Auto.
I like
Auto
autos.
darkening.
But
Yeah.
always have a fixed shade in
Yep.
the truck.
Fixed shades in the
That's
truck.
Keep,
That's it.
keep one.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's why I like those Tiger hoods. They're the 2x4 lenses. The clear lenses are super cheap. You can pick up a fixed shade for that thing fairly reasonable.
Keep one under the seat.
Yep.
Yeah.
But those auto darkening lenses for that Tiger hood is
Yeah. Magical.
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
There's no button to play with. You flip it up or you're grinding. Flip it down. Now let's go back to welding.
Yeah.
There's no getting flashed.
I guess I like to keep my hood down as much as possible. So the auto darkening, if I don't see I don't see very well anyways. And if I hurt my eyes, I get a lot of junk in them, and I try to keep my hood down all the time. And the auto darkening, I often will sit and nod my helmet down with the new auto darkening
And
lenses.
it's already
I
on.
mean, I'm
it's already
sitting there all
got
the
it.
time,
Clear.
sitting there
Yeah.
nodding my head down. You
Yeah.
know, it's great. And
So the last question we got here, and I think a lot of the people who are watching probably already know the answer too, but what's the best meal of the day for you guys? Most important meal of the day?
Definitely
Breakfast.
breakfast. For sure. When you don't have to be up at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
leaving,
that's right,
You know,
yeah.
you can
Yeah.
have breakfast.
Yeah.
But
Breakfast is always awesome.
Yeah. Wake up hungry, go to bed hungry. That's
Yeah.
pretty much the life of a
Yeah,
welder. I mean,
that's the life of it.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. Any part of the pig you can cook in the morning's good.
That's fantastic.
Well, awesome guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. If you have in-depth questions you'd like answered or topics for a Shop Talk Live series event, please email us at shoptalklive. And last, I'd like to thank all you guys for joining us up here in Appleton, coming up from FabTech. It's great to have you in town, and we're excited to spend time with you and interface with you with some folks online here. So I appreciate it.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having
Thank
us.
you. Thank you for having us.